Our first guest today is Jessica Vega Pederson, the chair of the Multnomah County Commission. She took office in January of 2023 and leads the state's highest populated county. She previously served in the state house and was a county commissioner before becoming chair. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Todd.
Let's start with Preschool for All. Obviously the big talker the past couple of weeks here. A lot of back and forth between you and Governor Kotek. Are you absolutely convinced that that tax is not driving high-income earners out of Multnomah County?
So what we know for sure, Todd, is that the number of people who are paying the Preschool for All tax has actually grown over the last 4 years since the tax has been implemented. So we are seeing a growth in that. We are looking really closely at where those folks fall on the income level. I think the important thing to keep in mind is that myself and the rest of the board, we are really committed to the revitalization of Portland, our economic vitality. So that is information that we really want to have. We have a group that we've convened, a technical advisory group that is going to be working over this summer and providing recommendations to the board on exactly what's happening. They're going to be looking at exactly those things. What is happening with the folks who are paying those taxes? What are some of the economic trends or tax trends that we're seeing? All of that is work that's important. But what we do know for sure is that any change that happens with the revenue mechanism for Preschool for All is going to have an impact on the program itself and on the children and family and workers who are part of the Preschool for All program. And so I think what you've seen this week is any changes to that are going to have a huge impact on the public, and any changes need to be done in a really thoughtful manner because people care a lot about this program.
Absolutely. I do want to play a soundbite from last week's show. We had businessman Jordan Schnitzer on here, and he threw in his 2 cents.
But there should have been a statewide tax for preschool, not a Multnomah County tax that penalizes Multnomah County. We've seen 1,700 higher income people move out of Multnomah County in the last 2 years.
We do hear similar thoughts from other Portland business leaders. So is that data not correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that data, that 1,700 number was some of the old data. It was also data that was used in the letter that the governor originally sent, which has since been corrected. So that is not the most up-to-date information. Like I said, that we have expanded probably about a little over 5,000 taxpayers who are currently paying the Preschool for All tax than who were initially. So that there are some corrections there, and that's why I think that it's really important that we have, a really open and transparent process where we're bringing the right information, we're bringing the data that we need to make decisions that are going to be impactful to the program.
Aside from the tax itself and the funding, we've heard a lot of concerns from providers and also from families just about how the program is being run. What is your answer to them about the future of the program overall? Yeah,
so Preschool for All was a program that we designed to really make sure that kids who had the least access to preschool were going to have a joyful, quality experience. We were able to have a measure that would take that to universal access so that all 3- and 4-year-olds in Multnomah County could have access to that. We know that childcare, we know that preschool is one of the biggest cost burdens for young families. And so this was a program that was really designed to address all of those issues. As we're looking at the program itself, right? This is something that's still relatively new. We are committed to making changes and updates to the program to make sure that we're meeting the needs of children and families. But since we've updated the numbers that we are working towards to get to universal, and we had to make some changes after COVID because we lost about 40% of childcare providers in Multnomah County after the pandemic. Since that time, we have been surpassing goals every year to expand the program. So for next year, for instance, we had a goal of serving 3,000 children. We're actually going to be serving 3,800 children. So we continue to grow providers. And some of the really great things that we're seeing is that we have providers who may have had a small, home-based care that are able to now grow their program into more of a child care center or opening multiple locations to serve more families. We're bringing more people into the workforce. So the program is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's having the impact that we want it to have, and we are always going to be continuously improving that work to make sure that we're really doing everything we can to reach the goal of universal access.
Are you surprised the governor came out like she did? Do you think this is political?
I don't know exactly what was motivating the way that the governor came out about this. I will say, I think the governor, I know for sure, the governor has a real concern about what's happening with the city of Portland, with Multnomah County. We are the most populated county in the state. What happens, the economic activity that happens in Multnomah County really drives prosperity throughout the state. And so I think there's some genuine concerns there. Again, that's concerns that I share, that my Board of Commissioners shares. I think the way that things happened, and especially what we saw in the Senate Finance Committee this week, that was undemocratic. That was not a process, that was not a conversation that really matched the impact of what they were proposing to happen.
I want to get your thoughts on the latest county budget, some $4 billion. Are you satisfied with how that looks?
Well, Multnomah County, just like the city of Portland, just like the state, we are having fewer dollars to fund the really crucial programs than we've had in years past. So it was a really tough budget year. I am not going to, shy away from that at all. We are seeing impacts to our employees. We are seeing impacts to the providers who are out there doing work as our partners in the community. My goal, and I know the goal of our Board of Commissioners, was to try to have the least impact on direct services. And I think that's what you'll see as a through line in the county budget that was passed, is trying to protect critical services that are serving some of the most vulnerable, some of the most at-risk folks in our community, and really looking at how we can right-size the rest of the work we do to make sure that happens. So it's going to be tough. I will say, Todd, that the other thing that we're looking at is the end of this legislative session, because the budget and that come out of the state has impacts on our county government, on all local governments. So based on how they're funding things at the state level, that may mean that we have to take additional action in the fall as we rebalance our budget to match what the state's done.
Finally, I want to get your thoughts on this continuing back and forth between the county and the city of Portland when it comes to funding for the sobering facility. Are you any closer to getting a resolution there?
Yeah, I will say that the county has worked really hard on bringing sobering back to Portland and the rest of the county. And I want to give a shout out to Commissioner Brim Edwards, who's been a real champion on this issue. When sobering went away in 2019, it was 100% paid by the city of Portland. What we know, though, is that the people it was serving and the type of sobering that was needed looks a lot different based on the drugs that we have on our street today. So with Multnomah County running it, we have much more of that connection to addiction services, recovery. But we still know that the people who are being served are the Portland Police Bureau, some of the city divisions. Those are the folks that are bringing people into sobering. So what we want to make sure that happens is that there's an equal share. So I've been glad that the mayor has reached out, some of the councilors have reached out of wanting to continue this partnership, and we're having conversations about what that looked like. But the city has an ongoing commitment that they have had in the past to fund this entirely. And so I expect them to be a true funding partner in this as we continue to provide sobering services and move to a permanent center in a couple years.
Jessica Vega Pederson, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Todd.